Right, so welcome to our the series called the Body, Mind, and Meditation, or BMM 2021 for short. This series is an exploration of the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness, and basically an examination of our being, what we are, how we are, where we are going, what we can do about it. We have launched this series, this lasts for 1 year, 2021, for the benefit of those living in the Western Hemisphere, especially due to time zone. So we hope this time is comfortable for you. It's early morning here. This is a time when people go to temples, go to their centers, but this period we have a kind of movement control order, so people are staying home. And I think some of them are also with us today here. And I know many of you are from different parts of the world, from the Americas and elsewhere. So welcome, all of you, especially old friends. It's always nice to be able to gather together to talk Dharma. So in this series, I'll be using diagrams. So this is the first diagram. This is diagram 1. It's called the 6 senses and the 5 aggregates. This is a very old diagram I've drawn since, I think, 19 years ago, the first volume of the Sutta Discovery. This gives you a very neat kind of summary. Okay, the 5 aggregates. Let us begin with the basic question before we talk about the 5 aggregates. In religion, it's very important, in philosophy and religion, it's very important to ask the right questions. In fact, asking the right question also is the beginning of science. When you ask the right questions, the answers are already there. For example, if you ask a question like who created the world, you already assume that there is a who to create the world. So let's begin with something neutral like, what am I? It's a bit more neutral. So we ask, what am I? If you look at yourself right now, you know, you can hear me, you can see the screen, right? And basically, you can see, you can hear, so you have a body. So we can't deny that we have a body, okay? Now, then we are aware that we have a body. What is this awareness? We call that the mind, okay? So in simple terms, there is this dichotomy, there's these 2 aspects of our being. We have the body, we have the mind. So in fact, you can see these 2 aspects of our being here in this diagram. The body is down there, and that's the circle below, and the mind is up there, all right? Now, let's begin with the body, okay? Now, as a collection, as an aggregate, okay, our body is called form. It's a broad term. I'll be defining all these terms as we go along. Believe me, even after today's class, you'll find, wow, you have known quite a lot. Because there are other notes which are already given to you earlier. Today, I'm giving kind of free flow of ideas as I know them. I understand the aggregates. So when we talk about the body, there are 2 ways we can examine it or reflect on it or talk about it. The first way, very simple, they're called the 5 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. All right, so this is one way of defining the body. Of course, the word body appears twice, okay? So you have the body as aggregate, that is a collection. There are 5, made up of the 5 senses. And there is the body as body. Later, we will use the term earth, okay? So there is the big body, which is the aggregate, and there's the small body, which is our physical body. The 5 senses. Today, I'm only just kind of, going through a summary, and then every month, I'll be going to detail for each of this. So here, we can talk of the body form as the 5 senses. But usually in early Buddhism, we rarely mention 5 senses. It's there. We mention 6 senses. The 6th sense is the mind. So you see the mind above there. But the mind is such a powerful aspect of our being. So we keep it separate, right? So we often speak of the 6 sense bases. Now, in early Buddhism, the psychological terminology are very exact. We do have a word for the 5 senses, panchindriya or pancha indriya. They are not often used. This term is not often used. We more often use salayatana. Salayatana. Sal comes from sat, meaning 6. Ayatana, base, sense bases. Okay, so that's the 6 sense bases, of course, the mind. Another way of looking at form, which is the lower circle again, okay, is we can talk about as the 4 elements. The 4 elements. So the 5 senses are the very active part of us, which, in a sense, communicate with the world. We sense the world. Okay. What we sense are the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind. These are the 4 basic elements. Now, of course, we are tempted to say, wow, I heard this before. I mean, modern science, we talk about this, don't we? In modern science, we have, solidity, fluidity or liquid, and then you have gases and then heat and gases. Yeah. But try not to overlap them too much, no? Because then we get lost with what the Buddha is trying to teach us. So this is where focus on the 4 elements. Earth basically is solidity. I'll just say solidity for the moment. We go into deeper meaning as we go along. And then water is, it's not really H2. It's not only H2O. It is a stickiness, the cohesiveness, things that when they stay together. All right. And then fire, of course, is heat. And then wind is movement. But this is the basic definition we'll start with. I'm going to go into this again later on. I'll start with the simple things first. What does it mean to say that all that we experience are the 4 elements? Right now, as you are hearing me, you hear sound, right? Sound. Of course, in science we know it's movement, vibration, for example. Wind. Then you sit on your chair, you can feel the hardness of your chair. That's called resistance. That resistance is earth element, right? And as an example, you breathe in, you breathe out. That also is the wind element, right? And you can feel your body heat. That is fire element. But the fire element is broader. It actually covers the whole of the kind of what it calls combustion, oxidation. So it includes decay also. All right. So you can see these elements that are quite a big concept, earth, water, fire, wind. Now, these 4 are very basic. They are the brickwork, the atoms of reality, if you like. Then there is a 5th element. Now we're going to do the Mahārāhula Sutta in the SKE GSS series, in the 2 more lessons to go. In this Mahārāhula Sutta, we're going to talk about 5 elements, 6 elements. So when you speak of the 5 elements, you include consciousness. What is this consciousness? It's the mind. So you have another word for the mind. So you have the 4 elements, which is form, the body, and then the circle above the mind is called consciousness. So the words are interchangeable depending on the context. So those are the 5 elements. But in the Rahula Sutta, there is the meditation on the 6 elements. The 6th element is space. All right, space. So space is simply that which contains all this. Okay, we're going to talk about this 6 element meditation in the Mahārāhula Sutta. So I'll leave that for another occasion. So when we talk about form here, we can either think of it in terms of the 5 senses, 5 physical senses, or the 4 elements. Okay, you're wondering now, what's that interesting diagram in the center that looks like a Viking cap at the top? This is called the 5 element stupa diagram, or 5 element diagram, if you like. this is the basic diagram used to construct the stupa in India, and then this stupa evolved as it traveled through Central Asia to China. So in China, it became this. It is, you see today, this Chinese pagoda. Okay, the Chinese elongated it, make it go up right into like a spire. All right, and I suppose other religions also, copied this model. So basically, the stupa has a base. So you notice the base is a cube. Here in the diagram, you see a kind of a two-dimensional drawing. The diagram, yeah, it's a square, but it's a cube. Imagine it to be a cube. So the cube represents earth element. Okay, so this is graphic symbolism. This is a Buddhist art already. Then on top of this cube is a sphere. Okay, that is water. So water is a globule, it's a sphere. Isn't it beautiful? And the sphere is shiny, and water is kind of glittering. Right. So this is liquid, and then you have a cone. Cone is fire. Okay, so it's like the shape of fire burning, I suppose. And then after that, above fire, now you see like a half moon, but here it's a cross section. See, actually it's not a half moon, it's what is called a meniscus. A meniscus, it's like your, what they call it, when you're short-sighted, you use that lens for your contact lens, right? So that's a meniscus. So it's like a little small bowl, okay, meniscus, and it represents the wind. Now, I don't know exactly why they choose this meniscus to represent wind, but it seems to fit very nicely in a kind of stacking up as a model. And then right at the top, you have a flame actually. All right. Now this flame is consciousness. This flame is alive, it's moving, so it represents the mind. So you have this 5-element diagram, all right? So and this represents the body. So now we know the stupa or the pagoda originally is based on the model of our body in terms of the 5 aggregates, all right? So that neatly kind of covers the bottom circle. So you see, we can go quite far with just these diagrams. Yeah? Now, okay, that's the body. Now the mind, what is the mind? So you have the mental aspects of the 5 aggregates. When we talk the 5 aggregates, they are form, feeling. You start at 9 o'clock at the top circle, feeling, all right? And then perception, 12 o'clock, 12 noon, and then formations. Think of formation as karma, if it's a big word, okay? Formations. And then you come down to consciousness. Now, why is consciousness put in between body and mind? Well, consciousness is what links the body and mind. See, in early Buddhism, we never talk of just the body, okay? It is always the conscious body. There's even a term for it. And the term is quite a long one. It's called viññāṇa kaya. Sa means with, okay? Even in Malay, you see there's the sa. It means with, okay? Same grammar. Viññāṇa is consciousness. You can see viññāṇa, in fact, the Pali word there, in that little egg-shaped circle between body and mind. And then ka makes it an adjective, sa viññāṇaka, that means with consciousness. And then kaya. Kaya is another word for body. Okay, kaya can refer to our physical body. Kaya is very much like the English word body. So, for example, we say student body, kind of like a group, a union. So the word kaya also has that sense. For example, you have Deva Kaya, a group of divine beings or devas. Okay. Anyway, so sa viññāṇaka kaya, the conscious body. So consciousness links the body and the mind. So we don't just have an eye, but this eye has consciousness, and later on we go into details. Okay. Since we have consciousness, since we are conscious, we have feelings, we feel. We sit in a chair, we meditate, we feel very good, very nice. You sit too long, you feel uncomfortable, you don't like it. We like something pleasant, we don't like something unpleasant. And then when we meditate, we experience something very beautiful, something so peaceful. We never felt it before. We did not know what to do with it. So we ignore it. So you have three things there: liking, disliking, ignoring. Okay. From there, you get greed, hatred, delusion. We'll talk about this another time. Today is just an overview showing you how all these things arise. So feeling, all these arise from feelings because there is consciousness, through the consciousness. But how did we decide we like something, not like something, and then we don't know anything about this, we ignore it? Because of perception. So that's a 12 o'clock, perception. Perception here is a kind of recognition, our past experience, past conditioning, and we use this to recognize what we are doing now. So what you're doing right now, learning meditation, for example, you're conditioning yourself. So the next time you do is already past conditioning. You are using all those things you have learned today, and then you're going to feel the peace and so on. Now comes the difficult part, these formations. Let's say you have feelings and you feel it's good and you feel calm. That's wonderful. That's good karma. But if you see something, you're going shopping and you see something nice and desirable, very expensive, and then you want to buy it, you don't really need it, then it's not so good. So then there is this negative karma. That's called formations. You form ideas when you see things you want to buy, or you see someone you don't like, or someone desirable, whatever. You find these formations arising. All right, so that's basically karma. So there you are. So you have this 4 mental aspects of the 5 aggregates: for consciousness, feeling, perception, formations. Right. Now, what's interesting is when we talk of mental aspects of the aggregates, we don't normally include consciousness, because consciousness is like it's special in itself. The body, yes, we have the body down there form. When we talk about the mind, or nama especially, mind as experience, it's made up of feeling, perception, formation, that is volition or karma, and then there is what's called contact. Contact is your sense impression, your sensing. Okay. Attention, very important. Attention. All right. Feeling, perception, volition or formation, contact, attention. All right. Now, don't worry if you think all these terms are, wow, quite bewildering. They're all there in your notes, and we'll be coming back to all this. Now, this definition, these terms, the mental aspect of the aggregates are made up of feeling, perception, volition, contact, and attention, or otherwise called nama, is found in the Sammaditthi Sutta. Sammaditthi Sutta M9. So if you want to read about this, you go to SD 11.14. Okay. So there you are. You have this idea about the 5 aggregates. All right. In fact, there's a lot more for me to tell you, but let me just stop here for this moment, otherwise we won't go on. Okay, let's go to the next diagram now. Okay, now what we have seen just now, the 2 bubbles, 2 round circles, it gives us an overview of everything. It's like a theory of everything. All right. So what is this everything? Okay, here you have the definition in words. In the next, it's called the totality formula. Right. This notice if you look at your notes here, these notes are your guide, very important. You have in the 3rd line the SD number, SD 3.7 brackets 2. Right. You see all these numbers on every page. This SD number tells you where to read up on this if you want more details. All right. SD volume 3, chapter 7, part 2. Okay. Now, This is in fact the first sutta that we were supposed to do in your book, and it is an extra sutta you have to look up. It comes from volume 3. The rest are from volume 17. It's called the Dwe Khanda Sutta. Here, I did not put the prefix for you. It's called the Khanda Sutta. There are many Khanda Suttas. So this is called the Dwe Khanda Sutta, the twofold Khanda Sutta. Khanda means aggregate, by the way. This is from S22.48. So in this sutta, you have the aggregates of clinging defined. They are called aggregates of clinging because we are not awakened. We cling to them. We cling to our body, our mind, right? So that's why they're called Kandupadana, Panchupadana Khanda. Okay, Pancha means 5, Upadana means clinging, Khanda aggregates. So in this sutta, the aggregates are defined. This is called the totality formula of the aggregates. The Buddha says, and what bhikshus? The bhikshus are the monks. Here, the word bhikshu is a code. The Buddha is addressing us because when Buddha talks to the monks, the teachings are recorded, handed down to us. What are the 5 aggregates of clinging? Bhikshus, whatever kind of form there is. Okay, notice form is highlighted for you. So this is the first of the 5 aggregates, form. Okay. Later you can fit in feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. They're all the same. This is a template. Bhikshus, whatever kind of form there is, whether past, future, or present. You know at once this refers to time. Internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, with mental influxes, subject to clinging. This bhikshus is called form aggregates of clinging. So here the Buddha is telling us what we are talking about here, the 5 aggregates, this is what they are. They are like that. What are they? Number 1, form. Form is like that. Like what? Past, present, future. Throughout time, it's like that. It's the same. So this is an eternal truth, in other words, like a scientific truth, if you like. Then internal or external? Okay, you're wondering where I get all these notes from. You just, this is the next section, okay? You can look this on your own, okay? It's like part 2 below, everything's explained for you. But at the moment, I'll just kind of read it out for you. So internal means your own sense organs, okay? The internal sense faculties. External means the sense objects, what you experience in the world out there, okay? Now, a very important note here is that what is in the world out there don't change. That's the way things are. They don't make you good or bad. It's how you sense those things that decide the kind of person you are. So don't blame the world, basically. Don't blame others, basically. All right. Then you have gross or subtle. Right. Gross here refers to, here technically, this is the defined from the Abhidhamma, the Vibhanga the volume. Gross refers to whatever impinges on the physical senses. For example, something that can, touch, all right, including the earth, wind, and fire element. Then subtle are those sensing or senses that do not impinge. The eye, when you see something, images, light impinges on your eye, for example. Sound waves impinge on your ear, the eardrum, and so on. But in the case of these aggregates which are subtle, there is no impinging. This refers to the mind objects. You don't see thoughts hitting your mind. See, thoughts arise in your mind, right? So that is an example which is subtle. Your mind consciousness. And for some reason, the early Buddhists include water here, cohesiveness, okay? Then you have next pair, inferior and superior. Inferior refers to something which is undesirable, something which is not pleasant, whether sound, form, smell, taste, touch, anything that you don't like. Superior are things which are really enjoyable, something that you like. Okay. And then far or near of course means just that. Whether this, I like this part because here what the Buddha is saying, these 5 aggregates, wherever you go in the universe, you can go to any of those Star Trek or Star Wars universe, you will still come across these 5 elements. And near is, of course, in our own world. But the Abhidhamma kind of make it a bit difficult and tell us, oh, this far refers to subtle objects. In other words, things that are difficult for us to notice. Maybe they're too tiny or too far away. Okay, and that which is gross are easy to observe, easy to see. So basically here we have this very interesting way in which the Buddha defines the totality of the aggregates. It's everywhere. It's in all things. There's no exception here. All right. Whatever that we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or think are part of the aggregates. They're all impermanent. There's nothing outside of the aggregates. It won't make sense if you talk about that. Okay, so that should give us a very good idea, isn't it, of these aggregates. Okay, now we come to the third diagram. Okay, the 7 points. I just want to time myself. I think I have about 15 more minutes before the break, isn't it? Okay, so this 7 points is a bit of a sutta point. Satta means 7, Thana means points. It is to help us again have a more complete understanding in terms of practice. In terms as practitioners, as Dhamma practitioners, how should we understand these 5 aggregates? Okay, so we should understand them in 7 ways. This will give us a full understanding. Of course, if we have all the 7 full understanding, you'll be awakened, be an arahant. Okay, but it's good to know the theory at least. Maybe we try hard enough, we might at least become stream winners in this life. That's our goal, isn't it? All right, so the 7 points. Number 1, the nature of the 5 aggregates. First of all, you got to know what they are, and this is what I'm trying to do with us this morning. What are the 5 aggregates? Form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. After a while, you should be able to memorize all this. It comes so naturally. Form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. You might even know the Pali words: Rūpa, vedanā, saññā, viññāṇa, saṅkhāra, viññāṇa. Okay, all these words are found in your sutta text. First, you must know what are the 5 aggregates. Number 2 comes the difficult part now. How do they arise? Answer: due to conditions. Now, you don't need to know lots of science here. Just take one example. How does I consciousness arise? The next time you see things, notice what happens when you see things. What's going on here? How do you see things? When you hear things, what happens? There are occasions you begin to notice something interesting about how seeing, sight, forms arise, how sounds arise, smells, taste, touch. Thoughts is the difficult one, but it's possible to notice it. They arise through conditions. And this can go very far. For example, if you're doing counseling, you really want to notice how thoughts arise. Someone suddenly gets angry. Why did this person get angry? There are conditions which make this person angry. And by that same token, there are conditions that make a person happy. What are the conditions that can bring back happiness to this person, to heal this person? How can I heal myself? How can I be happy? So we're talking about conditions here. So notice these aggregates are a big thing. It's Buddhist psychology. So how, but here we're talking about how these aggregates arise. Now, what is interesting here, maybe some of you already thought a bit about it. Aren't we talking about suffering here, right? Yes, we are. If you remember the Dhammacakka Sutta, the very first sutta, right? The last suffering, he says, in other words, in short, it is the 5 aggregates. There you are, okay? So the arising of suffering. When sound arises in us, it is suffering. If it is nice, we want it, then it goes away. If it's not nice, we don't want it, but we seem to remember it. If it's neither, we're wondering what's going on. We don't know what it is, and we are lost. See? So now that's an amazing fact to know, to start there. How each of these aggregates arise. So that's number 2. Number 3, since they arise, they also can end. So how do they end? Number 3, the ending. The Pali word is nirodha. Okay. So notice you have number 1, the aggregates are khandha. Number 2, arising is samudaya. And then number 3, ending nirodha. So what arises must also end. You remove the conditions, that aggregate will end. If something makes you unhappy, you're looking at something unhappy, you direct your mind away from it. Then that vision is gone. You won't feel bad about it. All right. This is mentioned in the Vitakka Santana Sutta, I remember, in the previous GSS class last year. Now, number 3 is the gratification, asada. That is the pleasure derived from them. We are caught up with it because we find some kind of satisfaction in it. Okay. This number 5 is actually another set. If you look at the previous 1, 2, 3, 4, sounds very familiar, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4 are the 4 noble truths. So here you see the sutta, the dharma, the various dharmas put together, connecting with each other, giving us a more holistic, more complete, in-depth, direct experience of reality. So here you see how the 4 noble truths are applied to the 5 aggregates, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, we go a little further. This is what the arahats experience, so to speak, the enlightened mind experience. And we can also notice this, but we easily forget it. That is why we don't awaken. But we can remember it will help us. So 5 is gratification, asada. We derive pleasure. You see something, you just like it. You do something, you just like it. You smell, taste, touch something, you like it. That's the gratification. That's what keeps you going, keeps you wanting more. This is what the advertising world wants to do to you. It wants to capture you by sadhu ideas, attract you, make desire arise in you so that you buy those things they want you to buy. Okay, so that's the gratification. Then the Buddha says there are also the dangers, right? Number 6. Right now, today's papers, we are talking about all this WhatsApp and Telegram. They're trying to give you free. Telegram gives you free service, but then they get something from you. They get your data. You're of service to them. So that's the danger. They're actually using us. And, well, we don't mind them using us, it seems. But as long as we know what's going on, or at least we think we know, and we have a chance to limit that, where we're going, I suppose we have a say, we are safe. But there is still that danger there. So restraint, wisdom is very important here. So number 6 is the dangers. Know what are the dangers? Here that is a suffering resulting from them. Okay. I mean, it's just like, imagine suddenly your system here doesn't work, or you cannot access this link, or worse, I cannot access and give my talk. I feel terrible, right? So it is suffering for me. So these are the dangers sometimes in technology. So you got to be prepared for all these things, basically. It doesn't mean you resign yourself. You got the wisdom. You got to know what to do. You got to have mindfulness, wisdom, preparation, diligence. But the best thing here is escape. the escape from them, nissarana, that is abandoning the desire for the aggregates. See, the point that we all are gathered here, the point I'm doing all this research and study and teaching is because we have not escaped from suffering yet. We're still learning to journey. But once we have learned how to escape from suffering, we don't need all this anymore, right? So we should not jump the gun, so to speak. We should not think that, oh, we're already on the far shore, we are still standing on this shore. So we have to learn at least the first 4 aspects of the 7 and then build up the understanding. That's why we need to hear the Dhamma, the suttas again and again to remind us, because we quickly forget the world is always taking our attention away. All right. So these are the 7 things that we need to learn about the aggregates. Okay. All right. Now let's go on to the next diagram. This is quite a complicated diagram. Okay. Okay. Let me deal with the top half first. Okay. This is called the feeling cycle. Although we call it a feeling cycle, actually it involves the whole of our experience. We just focus on the one aspect, in other words. Now, start at 7 o'clock, okay, sense faculty. Ajatika ayatana. Ajatika means internal, personal, inner. Ayatana, remember? Sense base, internal sense base, internal senses, internal faculty. It can be any of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or even mind. Okay. So take, for example, the eye. Okay, so we put the eye there. Then you go up to 12 o'clock. Sense consciousness. Sorry, make it simpler. We jump across. We go to sense object. Bahira ayatana. Bahira means outer, outside. External, ayatana. External base. In English, sense object. So you have the eye, faculty, and then you have a vision outside, something you can see, form, okay, object. So you have these 2, they are aligned, okay, in front of you, all right? Remember, you are a conscious body, so the eye is a conscious eye, and then there is this object in front of you. And then number 3, there is the top 12 o'clock, sense consciousness, viññāṇa, okay? Now, viññāṇa is a very interesting word. Notice the last part, jnana. Jnana by itself means knowledge. Then there is a vi in front, the prefix vi. The prefix vi is like the English prefix by, like in bisection. Bisection means you cut up, see? So viññāṇa is the knowledge that breaks up things, that analyzes things. This consciousness, we analyze things into, is it something we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or think, right? So our consciousness is like that. It says, okay, what am I experiencing here? You notice when you get up in the morning, some mornings when you're mindful, the first thing you ask yourself, am I asleep or awake? Right? So there your consciousness is asking yourself. This is called reflexive consciousness. You're aware of yourself. You ask yourself. My cat can't do that, but we can. And then you wake up sometimes in a new place. You say, is this real? Or am I seeing something or what? You know, right? You're not sure what sense is working. So slowly you begin to notice, and that's a good time to notice how your body and mind works. Now back to this diagram. So you see this 12 o'clock diagram is called sense consciousness. This is your attention. This is sense consciousness as attention. So sense consciousness functions as attention. We often think of all these big terms, consciousness, we think of it a big blob, you know. We must understand that when we talk about it, we actually begin to take aspects of it, how it functions. So in this case, it is attention. Now let's look at the 3 diagrams again, the 3 circles. You have sense faculty, and the other side you have sense object, and then you have sense consciousness. This is a triangle already. Notice the lines that join up. This is I call this a triangle of experience. Your eye is working, right? You're wearing your proper glasses, your eyes you can see clear enough, and then you're alive, by the way, right? And then there's this object in front of you, the screen maybe, and then your attention is here. Because if your attention is not here, you won't see the screen, you'll see something else, another story. So once these three are there, there is the middle result, sense contact. There you are. In early Buddhism, contact, what is the Pali word just below there? Phassa, contact or sense contact, phassa. This specifically refers to when all these three factors or three aspects join together, then there is seeing. There you are. So I form eye consciousness, center is seeing. The contact is called seeing. Then you change. You can put ear, sound, ear consciousness, hearing, like that. Okay. So there you have this experience triangle. So the last one is thinking, right? So you have the mind, and then you have this idea. Then you pay attention to it. Then that thought becomes real, becomes clear, becomes strong in you. Okay. So that's when you can control it if you like, let go of it if you like. But that one is a little bit more complicated. Okay. So whereas when it comes to the 5 physical senses, this model is easier to understand, to explain. Now, what happens after this? It doesn't stop there. See, because once there is sense contact, phassa, you feel. Once you see something, you look at it, you say, "Oh, okay, this is nice. This is nice." When you say this is nice, what do you mean? So this is this inner dialogue, okay? Subtext. When you say this is nice, what you mean is you recognize it as nice. How do you know it is nice? Sometimes you meet someone the first time and you say, "I like this guy," right? Then you examine, why do I like that guy? Why did I say I like this guy? Then you'll be surprised at the reasons. The reason usually that it comes from the past. Something conditioned you in the past. You had experience of this in the past and it was good. So when you see this image again, when you see someone you like, you have liked someone who looks like that or behave like that in the past, and then you see someone else like that, say, "Oh, I like this guy," right? It's very common. You know, I have occasion, I meet people, they tell me, "Oh, you look like my uncle." Then I say, "Oh, I hope you love your uncle." I say, "Yeah, it's very nice uncle." I say, "Oh, very good." So they like me. I say, "Oh, this is good. They're going to like me." See? So there you are. They recognize their uncle in me. So they're not really liking me. They're liking their uncle. So this is one of the things you must remember. It's quite tricky when it comes to perception. Okay, that we are not really liking something before us. We don't really see the world before us. We project onto that world. And this is happening more often than we realize. And this is why we face a lot of problems and issues in courting, in businesses, in work and so on. So here already you see a very interesting truth for you to think about. So, wow, I never thought of it, right? So there you are. This feeling. You examine something from the past and then you project it to the present and you recognize it. It's nice. I like it. Then you had a bad experience in the past. Then you see a similar image in front of you. You say, "I don't like it." We're very biased. We're not even aware of this. We act naturally. We react. Okay? So I don't like it. And you don't have to say why, because it's embarrassing, but you have experienced something bad like that in the past. And then when you have no record of this, you never experience anything like this, like in meditation, you feel really this great peace and you never experienced it before. You don't know what to do with it. And because of that, you lose the experience. That is why the teacher is important, the spiritual friend is important, the suttas are important. They will tell you, okay, this is what it is, this is how you recognize it. So recognition also is important. Perception also is important. It's not always bad. In fact, the reflection on impermanence is called the perception of impermanence. anicca, saññā. Saññā is perception. So perception can be good. When can it be good? Perceive it as impermanent. Perceive it as mind-made. Perceive it as suffering. Perceive it as non-self. You won't be wrong, basically. But that's jumping the gun, of course. Something we need to do, but it's not so simple. Now back to this diagram. What happens when we don't follow the rules? When we follow all this, what's going on before us? So when we like something, we see something, we project from the past, and we like it, lust arises, right? So this is, we feed the latent tendencies deep inside us, our unconscious. Whenever we like something, we will like it again. The next one, painful, something we don't like, we get upset, we get angry. When you get angry, you'll get angry again. So this again comes from your latent tendencies, the anusaya, aversion, patigha. Now this is deep inside your unconscious. You're not even aware it is there. When something is neutral, you cannot make anything of it, you ignore it, it becomes ignorance. That is why if you say, oh, I don't do studies with Dharma, I don't know what it is, very difficult, then you feed your ignorance very serious. Okay, you're going to feed this ignorance in your latent tendency, in the unconscious. So this is the basic Buddhist psychology of the unconscious here in the simple diagram. And all this leads to craving. You want more and more of it. Craving also means the opposite, not wanting any of it, which is the opposite of what you like. And craving also means ignoring something that you don't care about, right? Now put on a simple social level. Someone said, in social life, you have friends or enemies, right? But that's not true, really, if you talk about Buddhist meditation. There are people we know, there are people we like, people we don't like, that's true. Or conversely, people who don't like, people who like us, people who don't like us. But there's a third category, people we don't know. People we don't know, people who do not know us. That is why loving kindness is very important. Loving kindness helps us to open up and accept all these three categories and balance them up. Embrace them all with loving kindness, accepting them as they are. That, at least in a way, lessen craving, even corrects craving to become something positive. If not, if we don't do that and we allow this process to continue, then suffering arises. So that's the last one. Okay, which brings us to 11 o'clock, 7, I think. So we'll take a short break here and we'll come back with our very interesting discussion here.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. You can.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's continue. Now I'm going to jump one diagram first into another one, which is diagram 6, formations. Okay, this one is the most complicated of the diagrams. So, oh yes, Rana, are you there? Okay, never mind. Now, okay, look at diagram 6, formations. This comes from SD 3.7, section 3.2.2. Now, this looks complicated, but actually summarize what I've just said. That is why I want to show you this. You start, this time it's a kind of like, it goes in a circle, okay? You look at number 1 at 11 o'clock, more or less. At 12 o'clock, you see how I see the world, right? So it's very easy to read, actually. Basically, this diagram shows us what happens to us when we, when the 5 aggregates work with us, all right? Number 1 is consciousness. We are aware of things. We have our senses. So that's how we see the world, how we hear the world, how we smell the world, how we taste the world, how we feel or touch the world, how we think of the world, and so on, right? And we do that when there is contact, phassa, sense impingement. our senses get in contact with the external world. And when that happens, there is feeling at 3 o'clock. Notice feeling arises, that is responses to stimuli. So you know a bit of science, it helps. Then we just don't respond, we react to the world. We react to, how do we react to the world? How I react to the world is at 5 o'clock. The perception, saññā. Here we identify our experience. Actually, we recognize the experience. We project our past experiences onto the present, right? You can change identifying to recognizing. You'll still be right, okay? Number 4 at 5 o'clock. Yeah? Perception, saññā, recognizing the experience or identifying the experience. Now, if you stop there, it's okay. You say, okay, never mind, I'm letting this go. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to get angry. You're at 5 o'clock. You're good. But the problem, you go to 6 o'clock, there are formations. You see, the formation always plural, saṅkhāra. Here, the spelling is singular. That's the arahat saṅkhāra. Okay? Saṅkhāra with the plural, we tend to think a lot of stuff. So, and we create karma. So this is formation. We construct more things, ideas, and becomes anger, jealousy, lust, and so on. Right? So I create my own world. That's my world. I project these ideas. Okay, and from there comes my intention. I intend this. I plan that. I want this. I want that. That is at 7 o'clock. But it's number 6 here. But I should put number 7. But it doesn't matter. Okay, it's just the square 6, which is at 7 o'clock. Is your intention, cetana, your motivation to do things. And then you approach the world. You go back into the world, looking for things in quest of whatever you are looking for. And that's where your attention goes. There you are. See, manasikara is attention. Selective viewing. It becomes selective viewing. Selective viewing can be good, it can be bad. Okay, it's good when the intention is good, the object is good. Or even the object is bad, but intention is good, you are safe to that extent. But the intention is bad, even when the objective is good, object is good, problem there. Then at 11 o'clock, we come back to consciousness. So all these experiences you have feed back into your consciousness, and it goes in a loop, round and round it goes. And this happens in your body. Look at there's a little object in the center, the body, the 5 senses. You're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. And there is the mind supporting it. The mind controls your thinking and your efforts. No? Then there is latent tendency further down. That's where all these habits you have are stored. You have no control over this. Only the Arhat can uproot the latent tendencies. These latent tendencies are very dark, very deep. There is what's called lust, aversion, repulsion or aversion, and ignorance. They function on the pre-conscious level. In other words, just before you act, as greed, hate, delusion. But their roots go deeper into the latent tendencies. So there you are. This again doesn't look that difficult at all after I've listened to this talk anyway. All right. Okay, now we go back 1 page. We go back to diagram 5 now, the 5 aggregate summary of functions. So this is like by way of summarizing what I've said. What is form? Okay, so if you ask yourself what is form, the contents of form, the form is made up of the 4 primary elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and form derived from them. Derived forms. In Buddhist psychology, for example, sexuality, femininity, masculinity, also part of form. Okay, and there are other aspects. If you go into Abhidhamma, you'll notice them. And all this arises from food. Condition is food, ahara. Now this is physical food. There is also mental food. There is also food that is karma. All right, but here, food is what sustains us in the sense world. We are living in the sense world. So very soon, when hour's time, I'll be having my food, my lunch. Right? Then number 2, feeling, vedanā. Vedanā, there are 6 classes of feeling. Feeling born of contact through the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So this is how we define feelings. There are 6 kinds, depending on where they arise. So you have eye-based feelings. You see something, feelings arise in you. You hear something, feelings arise in you. So this is the Buddhism of numbers. Although we talk of 3 kinds of feelings, then you multiply by 3, past, present, future, you get 18 kinds of feeling, right? And then you multiply by your senses and so on. So you get, in the end, you get 108 feelings, okay? So then perception. Again, you have 6 classes of perception. How you perceive things, how you recognize things, remember? So this is perceiving things through form, the form that you see, the sound that you smell, the sound that you hear, and the smell that you smell, the taste that you put in your mouth, the touch that you feel, your body, your hands, and then the thoughts, the ideas, mental states that arise in you, right? So perceptions occur in these 6 ways. Formations also arise in 6 ways. Things simply, formation simply as karma. So karma can occur through 6 ways, so 6 kinds of intention. Intentions concerning form. You see something and then you want it, you don't want it, you ignore it. Smell, taste, touch, and thoughts. So 6 kinds of karma. Now, karma usually we say arise from the 3 doors. The 3 doors are body, speech, and mind. But at each of the 3 doors, you can connect them with each of the 6 senses. For example, let's say speech door. You talk about one of these 6 things, whether in a good way or a bad way. Or you can think about these things, right, in a good way or bad way. Right? So you create karma accordingly. Okay, so 3 kinds of the 3 doors, and 6 kinds of the occasions or sources of these experiences. So that's formations. And then consciousness, also 6 kinds, 6 classes of consciousness. You got eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. Now, in early Buddhism, there's no such thing as overlapping. They don't overlap. They're each on their own. Okay, so this is the early Buddhist idea anyway. Okay, let's go to diagram 9, please. Diagram 9. Okay. So that's the like a Venn diagram. Okay. So here there are 2 kinds of khanda, 2 kinds of aggregates, if you like. We speak of the 5 aggregates of clinging, and the Pali word is panchupadana khanda. The first pancha, there's a hyphen, there's an apostrophe there. A is missing. Pancha means 5. Very easy to remember how you get pancha as 5. When you punch someone, you put your fists together, right? And that's how the word punch started, by the way. It is your fingers, the 5 fingers. That's the punch, 5. Okay. Upadana. Adana means to take. Upa means like up close. Okay. Upa adana. So you cling to it. The K is added in because there's a vowel after upadana, and then just to make it sound better, upadana khanda. To make sure you know the following K is there. Khanda is aggregate, right? So ours are the 5 aggregates of clinging because we cling to them. They are objects of clinging. So that is the little circle inside. Then you have the aggregates of the arahats. They have no clinging. So that's they're just aggregates without karma, the way we act. Okay, so the arahats still have the body. The Buddha, when he was living 45 years, still have the 5 aggregates, but no clinging. No bad karma, no karma is created. It's neutral, so to speak. All right, so this is just a simple diagram telling us the difference. Okay. Now the last diagram 10. Once again, summarizing what I've spoken today. This is from SD 17.1a 5.1. All right. So in closing, we can say that the 5 aggregates, another way of looking at it is they are our levels of knowing ourselves, of experiencing the world. All right. Because when we experience the world, we know it. There is a sutta called the Sabba Sutta. Sabba means the all. The discourse on the all. Okay. S 35.23. S 35.23. And this is found in SD 7.1. 7.1. Okay. The all, Sabba. The all, the Buddha says, are our internal 6 senses and the external sense objects. That's all. In other words, what we can know are through our tools of knowledge, or the 6 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. What we can know are the 6 sense objects. What we can know are sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thoughts. Okay, that's all. Anyone who says there's anything more than that is going to get into a lot of trouble. They won't be able to explain what more can you experience beyond your senses and the mind. Okay, so here is another way of summarizing it. We experience the world, and we become the result of the experience. We are like this Ouroboros, the snake eating his own tail, the snake biting his own tail, wondering why it's so painful. But we're doing it to ourselves. We go round and round, the Ouroboros, and we become the result of what we are doing. These are the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates feed on itself. So we have form. Form is our physical form. These are the bases or means, the ayatana, by which all these events in our life occur through our senses, the ayatanas. There is feeling. Feeling here is the level, refers to the level of accepting, rejecting, or ignoring an experience. There's a simple way of looking at feeling. Perception is the level of recognizing an experience. How we recognize it, how we identify with it. That is sorting it into our mental pigeonholes or emotional pigeonholes, if you like. So this is what perception does. And then formation is the level of doing. All right, mental, verbal, or bodily. So this is our karmic process. What we decide to do. What actions, what karma do we form through our body, speech, and mind on account of the aggregates. Then there is finally consciousness. Consciousness is the level of cognizing. Cognizing is a big word for knowing. You can also see as a kind of being, of existing. That is, we name things. We name things as entities and events. You notice whenever you meet someone, the first thing you want to know is, what's your name, right? And we want people to give their names when they join us. This gives us a hold on things. And so this is the rudimentary dynamic undercurrent which is generated by various mental processes, our consciousness. So this, for instance, creates our being. So if you like, you can see these are dimensions of our existence. The form gives us the idea of we can have this, we can have that. All right. So this is the idea of having. This is the grammar of spirituality. We think we can have the world, but you can't have the world. The world is what it is. You can only use it for a while, let it go. You breathe in the air that gives you life. You got to breathe it out again. You cannot hold it back. And then there is this being and having. And being is a consciousness. Okay, and of course there is the doing, which is formations. And then the others, the feeling, perception, or the doing aspect of our lives. So you have being, doing, or doing, having, being. All right. And you can reflect on these aspects of your life to the 5 aggregates. There are a couple of diagrams I've left out, which I think we're not going to. I'll do it next time, so that you have time to ask questions now. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. We are now open for question and time. You can either type in the chat box or you can raise your hand to ask a question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sister Wendy. Now I'll take over the Q&A session. May I request everybody to turn on their video, please, so that we have better interaction?
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Please turn on your video. Yeah. Okay, question, yeah?
Yeah, I have a question.
Who is this? I'd like to.
Who is this? Please?
Oh, Sawan, is it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
Sawan.
Yes,
Okay.
Hi, Piya Tan.
Hello, yeah.
My question is related to, you said that there are internal sense bases and external sense bases, right?
Yes.
For example, when we say like I, we see some external form or color, we say that that has external one. But when it comes to mind,
Yes.
how can we say a thought as external thing?
Very good question. Yeah.
This question I had this question since a long time. Maybe can you clarify?
Yes, I should have explained it. Yeah, this is a very important question. Okay, thank you for asking this question. We talk about the five senses. They're very easy to understand external, but the mind also internal. Sorry, but the mind also is regarded as internal because it is ourself, internal in the sense that we do it inside us, so to speak, in a manner of speaking. Right, we must not stretch this too far. See? For example, we say, I am thinking, right? That's the internal part. In fact, in the early Indian terminology, ajataka, it means something to do with yourself. So that also means internal. So once you see internal and self, you say, oh yeah, I see it now, the connection. So we're talking about, it starts from you. But this is where Buddhism departs from the other philosophies, like Upanishads. Here, the Buddha says, it starts from you. That means you can end it. You see, that's the meaning here, internal. External is the world out there. Now, the Buddha is saying in the Nibbedika Pariyaya Sutta, it says, the world out there is the way it is. It's neither lovely or ugly. It's what you make of it. Basically, the Buddha is saying, don't blame the world. It's how you look at the world that desire arises or hatred arises. That's the external senses. Okay, so your thoughts about those things, the objects of the thoughts are external, but how you think of it is internal, is your own. So that's the meaning of internal here. Okay, is that clear enough? I'm not clear.
Yeah.
Ask again. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Right.
Okay, thank you very much for asking question. Next, we have a few questions from the chat box.
All right. In the meantime, the others, please turn on your videos. Turn on your videos, please, so I can see you.
Okay. This question is from Pochi. Where's Pochi?
I can see Pochi, but it's only a name. Okay, that's good, Pochi. All right. Hello, Pochi. Yes. Okay. Question, please.
Okay. Can we ask him to ask a question himself?
Would you like to ask? Yeah.
Morning, Brother Piya.
Morning.
Just now during the meditation, my throat was very, very dry.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I think it's okay in your case. It's okay to have a small cup of water with a cover on it. Cover very important, so to keep it clean. Then, if you feel it's very uncomfortable, just mindfully drink and then feel the water going into your system and so on. Another way is, well, drink some water before your meditation. Not too much though, right? It's okay if you drink a lot of water. As we grow old, we need to go to the toilet more often. It's quite a nuisance sometimes. So take it as it is. The funny thing is, if you meditate well, you find all these things won't trouble you anyway. But then once you are out of it, then your body starts to take over. Then just respect your body. You go there, do it happily. Whatever it is, do it happily, because you're not sick. It's the way the body is. Or another scenario, the Buddha says to this very old couple, old man, says, reflect in this way: my body may be sick, but my mind will not be sick. So when we age, our body kind of seems to run on its own. We respect it. We go to the toilet and say, okay, fine, you do your job, and then you go back and do what you need to do. So watch your body, know your body, respect your body. This body is the vehicle of awakening. Unless there is some pain and it points to something else, yeah, then you don't have to worry about it. If it points to something else, yeah, it's medical, then you got to deal with it separately. Any other strange things about the test? Oh, it's just
No.
no. Okay, then no need to worry too much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have a question from Brother Go HK.
Okay.
Brother Go, can you please unmute yourself and turn on your video if you have?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is, I think in sequencing of the practice, is Nirodha the cause for Nisarana, or is it Nisarana the cause for Nirodha?
Sorry, say that again.
In sequencing of our practice, when I look at the 7 points,
Oh, 7 points. Yeah.
Is the Nirodha the cause for Nisarana, or Nisarana the cause for?
All right. Yeah, this is a very important question. All right. Let's deal with the first 4 parts. All right. Because there are 2 parts there. You have Four Noble Truths, and then you have the Nibbida triad. The 3 things. The last 3 is the Nibbida, or what do you call that? Revulsion cycle. Now, remember, I told you 1, 2, 3, 4 are the Four Noble Truths, right? First truth is recognize the 5 aggregates.
Okay.
What they are. You must know, carefully learn what they are first. Very important, spend time to know what the aggregates are. In fact, when you reflect on the nature of the aggregates, the other 3 steps will somehow fall in. So start with number 1 if you are not sure what they are. Because if you're not sure what form is, for example, then it's very difficult to go further, right? Then arising and ending, you can look at it either way. Okay. Sometimes you may notice arising. Sometimes you may notice ending. So just be aware of it. All right. But theoretically, of course, we look at how it arises first, right? Now, the way to ceasing, that's the method. This is your practice. Okay. Now, in terms of practice, so you have 2 approaches here. One is in terms of study, theoretical. It is Four Noble Truth sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the learning sequence. You follow the Four Noble Truth sequence. The truth, the aggregates, how they arise, how they end, and then the practice, right? That's the teaching model. There is a rare practice model, which is found in the Salayatanika Sutta, right? Where it is 1, 2, 4, 3. Okay, you look at the what is the first truth, the suffering aggregates, and then how they arise, and then the path, you practice it, okay, and then the end, which is nirvana. This in terms of practice. So it depends on what you're looking at, whether as learning or as practice. Okay, of course, in your case, it will be as practice, so you follow the sequence of the 4 truths. But as you notice, in the case of the arising and ending, either one can arise first. So whichever arises first, you notice that. Sometimes it's not that whichever arises first, it's rather where your attention is. You notice the ending, you watch it. Okay, oh, this is how the feeling ends. For example, you realize at the end of this really nice show, you say, oh, the show is ending, and you feel very sad. You say, wow, look at this. I've been enjoying this show, but now it's ended. I feel very sad. Why is that so? Reflect on that. I'm not going to answer this question. You reflect on that, right? Notice, why is it after watching a very good show, at the end of it, you feel rotten, you feel bad? There's something interesting to learn. There's Dhamma there, okay? So learn Dhamma from that worldly experience you have. And then, on the other hand, sometimes something can start. For example, Especially weekends, you hear neighbors are going to quarrel, say, oh no, they're going to start, and you hear the sound that makes you unhappy. That's the beginning of it. So you say, why are they quarreling? And you reflect on that. So it can be the beginning or it can be the ending, depending on where your attention is. So in this case, it's flexible, all right? So there are different models that you use. There's no one fixed answer. It depends on the context, it depends on what you're going to do. Is that clear enough?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
thank
hope,
you.
I hope everyone understands what I've said today. If you don't understand any parts not clear, do ask.
Okay. Next, we have two people raise up their hand. Three people, in fact. Okay. We'll call Sister Gexiu first. Sister Gexiu, can you please unmute yourself?
Oh, by the way, you can hear my cat, so hope you don't mind. It's okay. All right, here gets you. Yes. Can you unmute yourself, Gexiu? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Ratna and Brother Piya.
Sure. Yeah.
If I may clarify my understanding with reference to what you mentioned earlier about the definition of nama in Samadhi Sutta and
yes.
So we know that the definition of nama is referring to these feelings, perception, volition, and contact and attention. As opposed to the Kanda Sutta that we always know, the first three, and then the saṅkhāra and consciousness.
Yes.
So can we say that this consciousness is actually equivalent to the contact and attention? Because when you mentioned the cycle of saṅkhāra.
Oh, hold on. Go back a bit about consciousness just now. What do you say about consciousness?
Yeah, so the part of contact and attention, which is part of the definition of nama.
Volition, is it?
No.
Attention. Okay.
And contact, right?
Yeah, yes.
So the feeling, perception, and volition, those are the other three parts of nama.
Yes.
And in the five aggregates, we just say. But is it correct to say that contact and attention is actually part of consciousness? Because you did mention the cycle that the sense consciousness is actually the attention. But if I recall, there was a previous discussion, or actually in Abhidhamma, that they kind of lump this contact and attention under volition, saṅkhāra. So I
yes. Yeah. Once you come to Abhidhamma, they tend to be very technical. So you might end up discussing more than actually practicing. This is one of the problems, So the point here is, what are you doing? This is what we should ask. What am I doing? Or what is happening here? This is what you should ask. There are many theories we know which don't apply here. So you should ask yourself, what is it that apply here now? So you have this big blob called consciousness. Okay, but not all. It's all there, functioning in the back of your mind or at the back of your being. But what you're doing now is you're watching. Nothing's happening to the consciousness. You're directing your mind to the particular area. You want to know what's going on. This is what we are doing now, right? You and I. So you are looking at attention. The attention is only part of consciousness. You see, so. Whether we link it with something else or not, how many stages of this, how many steps of that, what number of these are all our own ideas, our own views. And this is not going to help us see things right now. So right now there's this attention. How is it working? Right? So you will notice feeling there. You notice, you perceive something. And then if you're mindful enough, you say, oh, anger is arising. Then you see that this formation, you don't want it. You say, okay, I better pull myself back a bit. Then you are doing it right, you see. I mean, if all the theory is not going to help, notice, you want to pull this back, all right? You say, I don't want to get angry. So you're dealing with volition. And then your attention is right. Right attention is there. So this aspect of nama is working well for you in this sense. So you see, this is the practical aspect, the Dhamma approach. Is it? Yeah, maybe Abhidhamma is good in explaining in details, but when you come to practice, it is simple. This is what you need to apply. Ask yourself what's going on now, and then you work from there. Sometimes you might get a different answer. You begin to see more connections in greater detail, because everyone's experience is different, and then you see something which others don't see. You see the arising of something negative, and you see the ending of it, and you say, oh, now I know how I can overcome this negative thought. And that's a wonderful discovery. Okay, so apply what you have learned here in the practical way here. This is the sutta method. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, ask again. Yeah.
Through the experience, but yeah, it's just that, you know, when you learn the theories and then you kind of come across different people defining it differently.
Yeah.
I just need that clarification.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I guess at the end of it, experiential is still the most important.
Yeah.
Can I just ask another question?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think Brother Piya mentioned about the latent tendency, and I think I recall, you know, the Buddha advises to kind of develop different perceptions. So that, is that the way that you actually kind of, you know, overcome your latent tendency? For example, I think we are advised to develop perception of anicca, non-duty, and I was just wondering if you can share that.
What's the last part you said? Develop. What is it? Just the last part.
The Buddha's advice on to develop perception of anicca.
Anicca. Okay.
Non-duty.
Yes. Yeah. So you
mention about those advice, perception.
I think you got to check your microphone a bit. It's not clear. Yeah. Anyway, so you want to know a bit about perception. Is that right? Yes. The nature of perception. Sometimes perception is used as another term for meditation, a kind of meditation. There are many words used for meditation. So perception is one of them. Perception is when the object is already there, and it's how you look at it from what you already know. So it's a simpler level of meditation. Okay? Instead of focusing your mind on the breath, that will be bhavana. You cultivate. So bhavana, you cultivate what is not there, the peace. Right? Whereas here, the impermanence is there. What you want to recognize the impermanence, this real one is there. So it's called perception of impermanence in that sense. So you see it's there, you say, I want to know it's there. I'm reminding myself there is this impermanence. I want to know what it is. I want to experience it. So this is the practice of perception. So there's some thinking going on. So because of that, you won't get jhana. You may get some focus, joy maybe, but more wisdom. You might say there's something like more insight practice. It's not, I wouldn't call it vipassana in the modern sense. It's rather the meditation that brings you insight in the old sutta sense. Okay, so that's why I often say practice the perception of impermanence, because this is the easy way, which I think for us, many of us say, oh, Buddhism is so difficult. Perception of impermanence is not difficult. In fact, I would say this is the first practice we must do. And you combine that with keeping the precepts, and it's a wonderful practice. And then you aspire to stream winning. You find your practice becomes real, that you want to approach the path in this life itself. So you live by wise faith, not by theory alone. And you find there's no need to quarrel with anybody. You have your own ideas, but your experience is very important. So it starts with perception. S25, remember, Saññā, chapter 25 is all there. The 10 suttas there telling you how to practice this perception of impermanence. All right? I hope that's what you want. Or is there something missing? Just ask again if I'm... Because your microphone I can't hear so well.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, sister. Do you have any more questions?
Yes. So that answers part of the question about the perception. I'm just aside. Would that be the same as the practice of contemplation then?
Oh,
develop the perception of impermanence.
Contemplation is a big word. Anupassana. Sometimes translated as anupassana. So it's one aspect of bhavana. You know, for example, you look at the Satipatthana. They call the 4 practices anupassana, each of them, you see. Passana is to see, and then anu means after, meaning you keep seeing, anupassana. You keep observing, okay? So bhavana is a broad term for meditation. So, for example, you have Chittanupassana, you have Kayanupassana. You go on watching the body, go on watching the body. So that one is very, yeah, it's kind of seems to be similar to perception. But then in the case of Kayanupassana, you have breath meditation. So it's another broad term. You have a list of meditation in the first section of the Satipatthana, see? And with the most important, of course, is breath meditation. And then you have stages of the decay of the body and so on, right? So in the case of Anupassana, you watch a lot of things, something more than just perception. Perception is fixed in impermanence. That's why I say it's very easy. You just do one thing. Whereas Anupassana, so many things, you know. You got to sit, you got to sustain your practice. So when we talk of perception or impermanence, there's no excuse to not to do it. It's just one simple thing, looking around impermanence, you know? And it's a good basis for the deeper meditation, including the Anupassanas. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we will ask Brother Lim Kim Heng to ask his question.
Sure.
Brother Lim, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Brother Piya, for your
yes,
teaching.
sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My question is regarding the 5 khandhas that we are talking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, which part of the 5 khandha, like, because most of the problem comes from craving. So which particular part of the 5 khandhas, if we able to cut off, then the craving will be cut off.
What have you learned of the 5 khandhas today? Form, feeling,
perception, mental formation, and consciousness.
Right. So there are these 5 things. Okay, these 5 things are the one causing all the trouble. But we can't deal with all of them all the time. Let's say you know you are a teacher and you have these 5 students that are very naughty, jumping about. What do? But you can't stop all 5 of them. You watch the most naughty one, the leader. Watch out for the leader. Each time is a different leader. So you decide, okay, what is troubling me now? Very often it's the thought. You sit quietly and then this thought comes and you feel worried. Okay, then you deal with thoughts. Why is it arising? So there's another big area you got to deal with. Sometimes it is what you see, you know. Let's say we go into the train and you see things you don't like, you know. And this is, remember, with Taka Santana Sutta. If you see something you don't like, turn the head away. Simple as that. So you got to know what is the source of the problem. See, which of the aggregates or even which of the senses, you know. Because when you look under form, then you have the 5 senses, right? So that's the ground level, if you like. Form is the physical senses. So which of the senses troubling me now? Okay, deal with that. Turn away. You can use the Vitakka Sadhana Sutta method. Turn away from whatever is the source of the pain. Then when it comes to feeling, again, you say, okay, I'm having this feeling. So how do I deal with feeling? You have meditation on feeling, right? You reflect, just see the feeling as it is. Number 1, Four Noble Truth says, okay, feeling, what kind of feeling? Oh, this feeling is painful. Okay, acknowledge it so, painful. Acknowledging it so doesn't make it worse. Acknowledging means that's the truth, that is saññā. And this is impermanent. You let it go. So that's the second step. Acknowledge it, let it go. Acknowledge it, let it go. Okay. So there are different ways of doing it. Identify which of the form is troubling at that time. Number 2, identify the level of the aggregates which you need to deal with. Okay. So, and then apply what you have learned today. You may have to listen to the recording again, and then maybe what you do is when you listen to the recording, you pause. Once you say, wow, this one I want to reflect on it. You pause the recording, reflect on it, replay it if you like. That's how you ground your understanding, your wisdom. It took me 50 years to give this lecture, by the way. You may say this is wonderful. It took me 50 years, okay? So if something anything good here, it's because it took me a long time. I'm a slow learner, I must admit to you. So there you are. Stop the tape, reflect, play it back, and then look out into the world, see what's going on there, and then connect them. That's wisdom, connecting the missing parts in your experience. That's why we say wisdom is self-reliance. This is the self-reliance, where you connect the missing parts yourself, then you see it. Now I understand, you say. Okay? I hope that's clear enough for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Kim Heng, for asking question. Next, we would like to call Brother Long. Brother Long, please unmute yourself.
Yes.
I think they are just now the two.
Oh yes, sure.
You answered the question. I guess maybe I can ask, like, see if I'm correct or not. So we can practice what you taught on our daily life. For instance, what I've noticed is like I like to watch action movies, and so I realized that sometimes it creates that feeling of like, for instance, you know, like it causes aggression, I guess. You know, action movies, it's always on the theme of like revenge, you know, justice, whatever.
We tend to add up what we see.
Yeah. So I guess to cut off that feeling, so that we don't have that aversion feelings, we have to stop watching that kind of movies, right?
True. Yeah. True.
Okay. That's my question.
That's why I like to see happy movies.
Yeah, that's why we practice metta, right?
Yes.
So we.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's good. I mean, it's not that, you know, oh, from now on I'm not going to watch movies. No. I mean, of course, I'm talking about lay people in general. You know, I think monks is another story. So when you notice this kind of feeling, I love bad feelings because I have a chance to notice them. I mean, I'm not that I like them because they're bad. I can notice them. You know, I say, wow, no wonder people don't like this, and this is how you feel. And when you grow old, you feel so lonely, you feel fear, and this and that. You know, imagine if I feel like that, other people will feel worse. You know, so I begin to connect with them. So in other words, never take your experience as private. That might end up being narcissistic. You say, whatever I experience, other people also experience, maybe worse, you know. So what is it that's going on here? Why is it this is bad? Then you begin to understand better. Then someone else talk next time, you say, oh, okay. I think, don't say I have, I say, I think I've gone through this too. Let's compare notes, you know, how do you feel? And then you find there is dialogue. And then you begin to learn something new, especially you know some DHAMMA, you know, to back it up, to explain the dynamics of it. It's about suffering. See, that's what the Buddha says. I teach suffering, the ending of suffering. So all these things you mentioned, they are suffering. They're dukkha. They're something we don't like. And this was teaching us. So they're not bad in that sense. They are suffering. You see. Of course, we say suffering is bad. Yeah, in that sense, but we don't say it's evil. You see, it's something, another big story. You know? So we're saying that it's bad because it doesn't help us to grow. It doesn't help us to be free. It doesn't make us happy. So this is where our daily experience can teach us in this sense, if we open up with the DHAMMA. Okay? All right. Yes.
Thank you very much, Brother Long, for asking the question. Next, we have Brother Hai Eng from Penang.
All right.
Brother Hai Eng, could you like to unmute yourself?
Afternoon, Brother Piya. My question is very
okay,
simple.
Still morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Is it possible for our subconsciousness to influence or have an impact on our consciousness, consequently creating false perceptions, greed, hatred, anger, when we interact with others online or face-to-face?
Oh, others online. Oh, definitely.
How do we overcome this problem if it's possible that subconsciousness may have an impact on our consciousness now?
You have two big questions now. One is about levels of consciousness, and the other one is how we react during interacting on the internet, is it?
No, my question is it possible for our subconsciousness?
Okay, yeah, sure.
To influence our,
Okay, this is one of my favorite questions, you know. We'll be, in this series, we'll be talking about levels of consciousness. All right. So you have consciousness. We start with consciousness. There is a subconscious. Now, I'm quite clear about how I use this term in my translations, okay? So I think it's good to start now to explain to you. Subconscious refers to that part of your mind before you act. Whether there is anger, loving kindness, there is hatred or not, there is generosity or not, there's delusion or not, fear or not, right? You got to examine that. You don't tell people, but usually you can be aware of this if you want. That's called your pre-conscious, okay? I think I used the wrong word just now, not subconscious, pre-conscious, okay? So this pre-conscious, usually you will see greed, hate, or delusion. So you got to work with that. Pre-conscious before you act. Oh yes, next week's lesson with under Sekyai Sutta, we'll be talking about this Ambalatika Rahulo Wada Sutta, where the Buddha advises his young son how to deal with this before acting, while acting, after acting. So this is the part, the subconscious. Okay, I'm sorry, the pre-conscious. Pre-conscious before you act. That's the pre-conscious. Now, then there is the unconscious. I think that's what you mean, the unconscious. Those are the anusaya. Anusaya are the latent tendencies. Usually we translate anusaya as latent tendencies. There are three basic ones, okay? You have lust, repulsion or aversion, and ignorance. These three are very deep inside us, and they definitely are the strings that pull us, that make us behave in strange ways. You know, people start quarreling. They've never met on the internet. They fight each other, quarrel with each other already. Right. So this is the one, right? So this is yes, definitely our unconscious, the latent tendencies, anusaya, influence us very powerfully. That is why we keep the precepts. The precepts is to prevent the anusayas from awakening up. They're like the sleeping monsters. They're like the Sibiras guarding the gates of Hades in Greek mythology. We don't want to wake these fierce hell dogs up, right? So, but they're there because your karma, you see. Now, subconscious is a special term. It translates as rebirth consciousness. It is something that goes on into the next life and future lives. So those are the terms. So being aware of it is important. That this part of our inner mind, if you like, to use a simple one, is acting on us, making us feel like this. So you know it, reflect on it, and tell yourself, okay, next time I should, this is what I should do or what should not do. The answer to your question is yes, that this mind deep inside does make us act. Remember, even though we are not aware of it, we don't act consciously, karma is still created. For example, you say, oh, I don't intend to get angry with this person, but he made me angry. The fact that you became angry is karma already, although he made you angry. So you'll be very careful here. All right? So these are a little more detailed going into how the mind works. So yes, our unconscious influences us, so we got to be careful by being mindful, and we keep the precepts so that we don't encourage this kind of unconscious energies to surface. Okay, I hope that helps. Huh?
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And now is nearly already past 12.
Yeah,
12:07, I think.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone has any last question to ask? If not, we'll end our session. Everybody happy?
Right. Okay, very good. Yeah?
Okay, can we request everyone to turn on their videos now?
So we close first, and then those who like to stay back a while and chat a while, we can do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me see.
We need to clear the screen.
Yeah,
okay, I'm sorry, the closing. Yeah.
The closing. A few other people are not turned on their video yet. Wait, hold on. Okay. Chun Fok, do you have a video or not? And Patrick and Yong Sun. Oh, okay. Chun Fok is okay. Thanks.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Sister Wendy, over to you now. You can share the screen so we'll have the.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Closing salutation now, Brother Piya.
Very good. Yes. We have this.
Thank you.
Very beautiful screen. So we come to the end of this first session. I'm very happy that we finished this session because I've done my job. Now it's over in your court, as they say. You have some Dhamma, a lot of Dhamma. You have a recording, you have your notes, and you have the time also to look through them. And the most important thing is to practice all these things so that you grow in wisdom, you know better, you become a better person, and in that way also bring happiness and wisdom to others. This is what we're trying to do. We're talking to the world today, and you're different parts of the world, there are people you know. So all these things you learn can help so many people out there, and share with them, guide them step by step into the Dhamma that is even more beautiful as you understand them, as the Buddha taught them. And the more you learn, the more you teach, the better you become. Remember, as we learn, we will teach. As we teach, we will learn. It's one of my favorite sayings long ago. It still works now. So may you all be well and happy, and may your loved ones too be well and happy. May we all enjoy good health, mentally, physically, so that we can go on practicing the Dhamma and teaching it. And may our systems work well when we are online. That's very important too. So with that, we close this gathering. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down to the Buddha. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down to the teaching. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down to the noble Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.